Now F1's been around for decades, and it's seen over 1,000 Grand Prix take place, all with 113 different Grand Prix winners. There's been great moments, there's been sad moments, great races, and dull ones. Many people will always ask, who's the greatest driver, who's the greatest team, what is the best championship winning season of all time? But do many people actually ask, what is the best race? Probably, yeah, they do. Well, I hope so anyway, because that is what this video is on. Also, just before we start, I just need to... What is going on with the weather? I've been trying to do this video for a week straight, and I can't because the heat. You don't realise how bad it is for me right now. I have to sit in a room with blackout curtains, just windows shut so no sound gets in. I found this, and it's irritating me next, so I'm gonna take it off now. I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt that I don't know if it's a pajama top or an actual top. I've contemplated numerous times over the past week whether I should just pack up all my things and move to the Himalayas, because the hay fever every single day. It's like waking up getting slapped in the face. I know my problems right now are probably like there's worse problems out there, but it is really hard. But anyway, this weekend we've got the Canadian Grand Prix. I'm recording this just before FP1. I think it starts like an hour or two. And before you start questioning it, I'm not saying the Canadian Grand Prix this year is the greatest race of all time. We all know that it's highly unlikely that it will be. But you never know, there could be more than 3 overtakes, so it could be really exciting. But if we look back 12 years ago, June 12th, we got to witness probably the best race ever. We got to witness the most amazing, confusing, action-packed, tense, mistake-riddled race. And it was perfect. It really was. Just realised that as well. I'm complaining about the heat and I'm drinking a cup of tea, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But by no means was it a classy race. The race was dominated by crashes, wet weather, just mistakes, cars flying everywhere, safety cars, red flags, just chaos, all because of the torrential rain. I think the race itself is the longest race that's ever been in F1, taking over 4 hours to finish. So let's not waste any time and just get right into it so I can actually fucking breathe. So let's transport ourselves 12 years ago to the lead up to the Grand Prix. Vettel was leading the championship by a lot. Lewis was in second place and Mark Webber was just behind him. As for Red Bull, they themselves had a pretty big margin over McLaren and Ferrari, who were in second and third respectively. In the race beforehand, Lewis had just won in China. Therefore, if he wanted to mount any sort of title challenge, he and McLaren would both have to have a pretty good weekend, and the Red Bull would have to have a pretty bad one. So at the start of the race weekend, obviously we had the practice, and at the end of FP1, McLaren's hopes and dreams surrounding the Canada GP would have been lifted because Seb crashed into the wall of champions and pretty badly damaged his car. In the end, Nico Rosberg took the fastest time. And in FP2, Seb was beaten again, this time by Alonso. However, the McLarens were not doing well at all, really. And the Red Bull was still quite a bit quicker than them. And eventually in FP3, Vettel claimed top position. As for qualifying, things continued to go right for Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel claimed another pole position in what was his 6th that season, with the 2 Ferraris of Alonso and Massa separating Seb from Mark Webber, his Red Bull teammate. And Webber was only that far down because he supposedly had problems with his car in qualifying. I think went from very crap to even more crap for McLaren. They had a pretty bad qualifying, with Lewis qualifying in 5th and Jensen in 7th, which is obviously much further down than they would have needed. He blamed the low levels of downforce for the poor qualifying, but I just think that the Red Bull car that year was obviously a lot better, and Seb was just on fire at that point. It was so hard to stop them. But as we all know, the race isn't won on qualifying day, unless you're in Monaco, in which it pretty much is. Trying to overtake in Monaco is like me trying to fit into a medium-sized shirt. It's not going to happen. Race day came about, and to say the track was in lovely conditions to race in will be like saying that Michael Massey is loved by Team Lewis. Listen, it couldn't be further from the truth. Various showers of rain before the race had just come and just swamped the track. Nevertheless, the race was started with everyone on full wets, which nowadays is something that happens once every 405 races. Nowadays, if there's any hint of rain, the race is cancelled, suspended and banned. The track is taken off the calendar and all the staff that are at that track are in prison for the rest of their life. Obviously, that is a slight exaggeration. Obviously, in these conditions, the cars struggled for grip, even beyond the safety car, where cars are going about as fast as a 70-year-old in a Fiat 500 on a dual carriageway. However, after 5 laps, the safety car came into the pit lane and the race began. Straight away, Alonso went to overtake Vettel, but Vettel managed to hold him off. The same can't be said for Lewis Hamilton and Mark Webber though. In the tense battle for 4th place, Mark Webber and Lewis Hamilton collided, resulting in Mark simply doing 360s just to stop Lewis trying to get past him.
What the fuck are you doing?
Great defence, to be honest. Obviously, Lewis lost a few places, whereas Mark basically fell to the back of the grid. Obviously, after losing a few positions, Hamilton was much closer to his teammate now. Hamilton had overtook Jensen, but then Lewis run wide, and Jensen managed to get his position back. Positions were just changing all up and down the grid. It was just chaos. Apart from the very top, where Seb just continued to extend his lead. And then out of nowhere, arguably the biggest incident or controversy or just moment of the race happened. Lewis had the run on Jensen coming up the pit straight. Lewis started to get down the inside of Jensen, and it resulted in him just being twatted straight into the pit wall.
Why did you do that?
Funny.
Jensen committed a tragic act of vehicular manslaughter. This incident ended Lewis's race. He was forced into an early retirement and the safety car was redeployed. Somehow, Jensen managed to escape punishment, and just before the safety car was redeployed, he had changed his tyres to winters. I suppose Jensen would have been feeling quite lucky that he escaped any punishment. I suppose he just couldn't see. But he wasn't lucky for that long, as he was caught speeding behind the safety car and got a drive-through penalty. Not only had one McLaren sent another McLaren into an early grave, but the McLaren that sent the other McLaren to an early grave had dropped down to 15th and pretty much out of the race. I'm sure the team were ecstatic. Meanwhile, at the front, Seb was just flying and was having just quite a normal race. If the Ferraris wanted to win this race or just get anything, they had to change it up, which they did do in the end, as Alonso followed Jensen and pitting for inters. However, by lap 19, a massive rain cloud had just hit the track, and the conditions were so much worse now. The cars needed full wets, which was a massive kick in the balls for the cars that had just pitted for inters.
I have contained my rage for as long as possible, but I shall unleash my fury upon you like the crashing of 1,000 waves!
And by lap 20, the safety car was brought out again. The conditions were deemed just too bad to race in. And at this point, the race leaders who hadn't already pitted for new tyres came in for full wets. It's a drinking game. Every time I say full wets this video, just take a shot if you don't respect your liver and want it to function. Understandably, after 6 laps with the safety car out on the field, and with the weather just getting even worse, the race was suspended. It was a good call, as the conditions made the track look like a scene from the movie 2012. What came next was just 2 hours of mundane rain, but thankfully after the 2 hours, the race was restarted. And when it did restart, it was once again restarted under safety car, with drivers in their respective positions before the initial suspension. This meant that Vettel still led, with Kobayashi, Massa, Heifeld, Petrov and Paul di Resta just behind. Yes, this man.
I'm in the pit!
After his incident with Lewis earlier in the race, Webber had done a pretty good job of managing to get his car to 7th. He was followed by Alonso, whose pit stop to change for inters was just ruined by the redeployment of the safety car. And Jensen wasn't too far behind Alonso, with just one car separating them. And after 7 laps of the safety car, he went back into the pit lane and racing continued. As expected, Seb began to distance himself from the cars just behind, letting Kobayashi, Heifeld and Massa just fight for second place. Soon after though, cars started to pit again for inters. Rubens Barrichello, who was on inters, was setting the same pace as the race leaders, so it was seen to be the optimal tyre. One of the drivers that did pit was Fernando Alonso, and after he came out of the pit lane, he was met with the McLaren of Jenson Button, which sat in the dizzying height of 10th place. Button was patient enough to wait until turn 3 to attempt to overtake, which proved to be successful and unsuccessful at the same time. The both of them collided, and as a result the Ferrari was beached, causing the safety car to come out once again. Jensen had got past them thanks to his wonderful strategy of just guerrilla tactics, but he now had a puncture and he had to pit again. Ultimately, it meant that he rejoined the grid in 21st place. Again, he was not given a penalty for the Alonso collision, with race control deeming it to be a racing incident. I'm not sure Alonso would have been too happy with that.
Why are we still here?
However, Jensen was very quick and he made up quite a few positions, and by lap 44 he sat in 14th. Elsewhere on the grid, Vettel, Kobayashi and Massa had all kept their respective positions, even after various attacks from Heifeld, di Resta, Webber and Schumacher. But eventually Paul di Resta showcased amazing racecraft, and he damaged his front wing, trying to overtake Heifeld, causing him to pit for repairs whilst having a drive-through penalty, which obviously resulted in him being dead last. Schumacher, who was far from his prime, had still managed to overtake Webber and Heifeld and found his car in 4th place. He was setting fastest laps. Quite amazingly, rolling back the years, Schumacher managed to pass Kobayashi and Massa for 2nd place. Further down the grid, Jensen had made his way into 10th place. It was around now when drivers started to change the tyres once again. The track's grip had improved, so drivers were beginning to change their tyres for slicks. Mark Webber being the first to do so, and quite unfortunately for Felipe Massa, shortly after pitting for a new set of tyres, he managed to damage his own front wing, and therefore he was forced to pit again and lose viable time. Ferrari's afternoon began to look very bleak. There's nothing new there, is there? I'm numb to it now. Soon after though, there was more carnage on the track. Heifeld and Kobayashi were battling for 5th place, when Heifeld just rammed into the back of Kobayashi's Sauber, causing his own front wing to get stuck under the car, after which he had to take an escape road because he lost control of the car. As a result of the crash, debris was just scattered all around parts of that track, and thus a 6th safety car was brought out. Michael Massey would have loved this race. And with the safety car being pulled out, cars tried out new strategies, and quite amazingly, Jenson Button somehow managed to find his car in 4th place. And in even higher stakes, Webber and Schumacher were really getting into some intense battles, and in one instance Webber overtook Schumacher. However, it was deemed that he cut the chicane and therefore had to get the position back, and unbelievably, in the midst of this chaos, Jenson Button managed to pass both Mark Webber and Michael Schumacher in the same lap, thankfully without putting either car at the race. He was able to overtake Webber as Webber cut the chicane once again, so it was quite a straightforward pass, and then just managed to overtake Schumacher quite cleanly. Honestly, it was just amazing. After everything that had happened, all the chaos in this race just surrounding Jenson, he found himself in 2nd place. It would have been an absolute absolutely insane result for him, but obviously the race wasn't over, and Jensen was setting faster slaps, and he was catching Seb, and then it happened. Seb and Jensen both crossed the start line and commenced the final lap. Jensen was just 9/10 of a second behind Seb. Was the gap too big for him? Could he sneak in a dive bomb anywhere around the track, or would he just be happy with the second place? And to be honest, I'm not even sure Jensen had a second to think about what he would have done, as by turn 6, in a shocking turn of events, Seb ran wide and he span off the track, and Seb, who had been perfect all race, just completely faultless, leading for an enormous amount of time. He'd made a grave error, and here comes Jensen Button to take first place with half a lap left, and as expected, Jensen managed to retain his P1 for the rest of the lap and cruised on to victory in Canada. Vettel did manage to recover and secure a P2, but it would have felt like a crushing blow to lose after being that far ahead for so long, literally half a lap from winning. And Mark Webber managed to get himself in the last step of the podium after finally managing to overtake Michael Schumacher on an earlier lap. Vettel had still managed to extend his lead in the championship, so it was still a pretty good race for him in that perspective, but it was also an amazing race from Mark Webber. After being 14th with an early collision with Lewis, he made an absolutely superb recovery to get back on the podium, and of course, as you would, Jensen was made up. Jensen's often praised this race as being his best win, and it's hard not to agree, just for the action, the story, and just the entertainment. Of course, there was a lot of crashes and maybe not the best racing on show, but what it lacked for in racecraft and skill, made up for in strategy, entertainment, and just an all-round spectacle. It's a race that's still fresh in the mind for so many F1 fans nowadays, and it'll continue to be for the future. It's a perfect testament to the sport in general, the desire to win, the unpredictability. At the end of the day, it is just cars going round in circles for 2 hours, or well, in this case 4 hours, but deeper down, it's so much more than that, and it's races like these that have you on the edge of the seat. Of course, we're always going to love great head-to-head battles, wheel-to-wheel racing, the amazing laps, races where the driver will show how good they really are and have like a lead of 30 seconds, but the races that we do remember the most and have in our fondest memories are the ones where something happened and we just couldn't look away from the telly. And it is kind of sad that we don't have these races as often as we used to. Obviously, we're entering a new era of F1 where you can't even make one mistake, otherwise the race is over, unless you're driving a rocket ship. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun watching the race back and just talking about the race in general. Probably my favourite race ever, if I'm being totally honest. And I do want to turn this into a little series where I do look at different races and just talk about them. So if you've got any suggestions on what races you want me to watch and do a video on, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe for more F1 content. I'm having a lot of fun with this channel right now, and I want to do it a lot more, so any support is greatly appreciated. As of right now, I'm recording this just before FP1, like I said before, so let's hope we have a good qualifying and a good race. Maybe even as good a race as this one. It definitely isn't going to happen. We all know Max is going to be 40 seconds ahead by lap 3, but I do know there's reports of rain, so who knows. But in all cases, be safe, have fun, and I'll see you around.